Hi, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Apologies up front for the mic being kind of obscuring my face a little bit. I like to have it close so that I don't have to talk loudly. Um, I know maybe that could be a little bit annoying. There's not really, I don't really have a proper stand for this mic. Um, that's it is what it is. What can I tell you? Sorry. And I also apologize that it takes me a little time to like ramp up in a video when I haven't done one in a while. It feels like the proverbial trying to ride a bike if you haven't ridden a bike in a while. Like you know what you're doing, but you kind of don't. Because it is still not natural for me to be staring at a camera eye and pretending it's a human being. Like we should probably never get used to the idea that this is fully communication. That said, it is communication because YouTube is pretty awesome, and I watch a ton of YouTube. I don't really watch regular TV much, and pardon me. And there is a cool community on YouTube, especially among the psychic, spiritual folks around the world. It's a global community, which is something that wouldn't have even been possible in the near past. So now that I've stumbled my way through the introduction, today's video is going to be just probably pretty brief with some sharing of recent dreams that I've had that have been pretty wild. I'm slightly hesitant to comment on the political, social situation currently going on. We all know that it's high drama, and a lot of it is distressing at times. And I'm finding that what is helping me personally, and it's different for everyone, you have to find what works for you to keep your stress down. And one of the greatest gifts for me is music, and that is either listening to music that I really love, and especially making music, writing songs. And I have a small home studio here that's been seen in some of the videos that I've done, and there's just nothing like a creative activity. And creative activities are not necessarily always just like a formal art, like music or painting or whatever. You can turn cooking into a kind of Zen experience. Working out is a great way to take your mind off of, interrupt the brain's constant chatter and put you in some other state. And of course, the cliche of being in nature, but it really is true. Because for example, I spent almost the whole day outside doing yard work with my mom. My mom actually suggested it. She's like, "Oh, we should." I don't want to get into a lot of detail, but I have a lot of grass, the grass that grows where it shouldn't. Like, for example, there in my front yard, which is very small, there's a bricked area, which was once grass before I moved in, and they bricked it over. And I guess I don't know to not have to cut the grass there, but the grass grows up through it anyway, and the weeds. So it all had to be weed whacked, and basically my entire property had to be weed whacked. But my driveway is literally about 100 feet long because my property is long and narrow, somewhat narrow. So anyway, my mom's like, "Oh, so that Saturday's going to be nice. You feel like doing it? We can do it together." And my mom is very much like that. She has given a lot to my brother and I over the years. She is very unselfish with her time and her energy. And even as she advances in years, she likes to stay active. And I think that's another healthy habit. Um, you know, um, Even my voice teacher, who is in I think her mid 80s, amazingly, she just had a knee replacement, and she's in about a month and a half of rehab, and the rehab has taken longer than she had hoped or expected, but she's getting there, and she's getting back to being as active as she used to be before, and she's in it. She has the energy for life. she has purpose in her life. She's given herself purpose. And I think that's important for everybody. But, this isn't really meant to be a self help speech. So, but for me, making music is one way to really like sort of tune out the world to a great extent. And I feel fortunate to be able to do that when there are a lot of places in the world that are in deep conflict, as we know. And I keep up with the prayers, hoping that we're gonna see a breakthrough in peace in so many different places that are just a maelstrom right now. So do whatever you need to do to get yourself to the place you need to be. Also, whiskey doesn't hurt. You might have known I was going to say that if you know me well. A little too much whiskey sometimes also doesn't hurt, but sometimes it does. But that's why you got to also work out, or at least I think now I'm just talking to me. Yeah. So if you want to enjoy your whiskey, then you have to pay the piper. And for me, that is often a nice, hearty workout, maybe the day after. If I have a little too much of the yummy poison, yummy poison. So anyway, it's 6 minutes in. I haven't really talked about any dreams yet. My voice sounds like this because it is officially ragweed season in the United States. And that is the biggest allergen for me. Even though I get allergy shots, it still affects me. This year seems to be particularly kind of heavy. Ragweed season starts in mid-August, and I guess it can last through the end of October or until the first frost, is what I read. And the way it's spread around the country is kind of like the heaviest regions are like slightly inland of the eastern coast, and then down through my screensaver changed. That's why the color changed on my TV, which is facing me and providing most of the light. Then down through the mid east and down into the southern states, and then into the Midwest, and then it kind of like trails out again along the western coast, the west, against the Pacific Ocean. And the measurements for ragweed have been pretty high this week because it's been pretty warm until just this evening, where it dropped like it's 60 degrees. So it's very comfortable, but most of the week we were in the upper 70s during the day and into the 60s at night. So it's been pretty nice in terms of temperature, but bad in terms of ragweed. Oh, so yeah. So anyway, yeah, it is screwing up my singing voice, which I don't love, but there's nothing I can do about it until the ragweed season is over. Grass and tree pollen, those are the ones you get at the beginning of the summer. And I think those are smaller grains when they particulate, when they go into the air. And I think ragweed are bigger grains. And I think that's part of the problem, is because I don't know, they're more disruptive as bigger grains. Whatever. Is this interesting at all? Jesus. So let me get into the dreams. Last night's was pretty interesting. I have had dreams that have included our dear leader maybe a little more often lately, and a little more often than I would like. I think in one of the more recent videos, I recounted how I had a dream where I was sort of working as a Secret Serviceman for him, and he was just a total train wreck, who somehow like couldn't get himself killed, even though he practically found almost every way possible to do so. And we, meaning me and the other Secret Service agents in the dream, were wondering how this guy could possibly still be alive when he seems to just live on a knife's edge. So, pardon me, and pardon the screensaver change. Now speaking of fall, I'm looking at a screensaver of fall trees, brown and gold and red leaves. So, yeah, there have been a couple of dreams around him and around his people. And in the dreams, in the last couple dreams, he has seemed as cartoonish as he really is. Like he looks kind of dopey and acts kind of dopey, and it is almost like a cartoon sometimes. This one wasn't literally a cartoon, though some of my dreams are like that. But he's always cartoonish either way. Anyway, I'm going to read some of what I texted to my mom about this dream. Actually, though we spent most of the day working together and we talked about a lot of different things, we didn't get a chance to talk about the dream, even though I had mentioned it to her. So here, this is the text that I sent to her, though I think she's gone to bed now. And it will explain the dream from last night. So, writing to my mama, my dear mama, I didn't get a chance to tell you about my strange dream. It was in a large room at the White House, almost like a press room or a meeting, but the room was more decorative, and it felt a little more like a party of some kind. And when I say decorative, I'm even thinking of that kind of like that tacky Mar-a-Lago kind of theme that is creeping in everywhere that he wanders. It had that kind of feeling to the room. And there was like a podium at the front, and he spoke for a while, and then other people in his administration spoke for a while, and maybe the press secretary. And so it was almost like a press briefing, but more elaborate, closer to like the feeling of a party, like from their end. And I witnessed the phony baloney pageantry of our stupid leader and his minions announcing all these new terrible edicts and restrictions on the people, we the people. And I don't know what role I was really in while I was there, but I knew everything that I was watching was horseshit. And that they were all weird, loud, and gross, but they thought they were amazing. Yeah. I don't know if I was in my Secret Service role again. I'm not sure. Maybe. And then, when the entire room was empty and it was later in the day, somehow a group of everyday people got inside the same room and threw a wild party of their own. It seemed like a secret gathering to which the bullshitters were neither invited, welcome, or expected. Like it was like the everyday people taking over the room at night and having their own bash. And it was like a booze bash, and people kind of literally swinging from the chandeliers, and being wild and crazy, as if like, I don't know if you could say like reclaiming the room from the weirdos. But I wrote, it was also like a little like the common people had stormed the building, like a reverse January 6th, in which good people swarmed the house of power, the seat of power, instead of the gross ones. And that's the main those are the main details of the dream. So I don't know if it's meant to symbolize, a kind of counter, the resistance, the so-called resistance to the administration. If we're gonna have, I didn't know if it was we were gonna have our moment of, comeuppance or victory, or if it was that when the authoritarians aren't around, we go on about our lives and we have the party and we still live life behind their backs without them, and we don't take any less joy in it just because things are strange and hard right now. So I don't know which of those it is, or if it's kind of both, or if there's another meaning. Definitely open to feedback on that. And then, having had that dream, I remembered a dream I had 1, 2, or 3 or 4 years ago. Like now, the way I've had so many unusual dreams that I can't always remember where in time I've had them. And not that I think it always matters. So then I remembered that a few years ago I had a dream about the stupid president running his own talk show. But then he was arrested at the end of the show and taken away. And it came to mind with the removal of one of the late night TV comics this week. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, J.K. And in my dream, it was kind of like David Letterman's old studio. Yeah, it was like that, Sullivan Theater. And I don't remember if there was an audience there or if really I was the main audience member, but I remember at some point, like looking him in the eye, Mr. 47, behind the desk, on stage, and just knowing that he was a big faker, and him looking at me and knowing that I knew and not liking it very much, but not actually saying anything. Anyway, so in my old dream in that TV studio, he gets taken away. He gets arrested at the end. And I wrote to my mama in reflecting on this additional old dream, the president is more of a desperate would-be entertainer than anything else. But he possesses no actual talent or charm or any of the internal qualities which make people compelling as artists. So instead, what he does is a hate parade because he doesn't actually know how to do anything else. He's so empty and devoid of substance. And I've said this before, that he is like a black hole. There's nothing there, but the black hole still wants you to not only acknowledge it, but like appreciate it and worship it and elevate it. And in this realm of light and darkness does have a role, but it's not really that one. And that's about as much as I feel like I can articulate at the moment. Pardon me. I'm stretching my arm because I was holding a weed whacker all day. So my forearm is sore. I'm getting sore from holding this microphone up. First world problems. These are first world problems. I had another pretty wild dream where I felt very, very far away a few days prior, maybe 2 nights ago or 3, that I also texted my mom about, which I will now share with you. So here is how I described it to her by text. This is a little longer. Oh, right. And I was driving while I wrote this, so I wrote at the top, "Hola, mama, this message is dictated." I had a wild dream about being a Jewish boy, I think, and living in Israel, like in modern times. And I think it was my birthday, or there was a big family celebration going on with an enormous feast. Just an incredible amount of food everywhere. Excuse me, from the most basic to the most exotic, with caterers and other servers, and it all looked amazing and delicious, and people were filling their plates up like so high, and I was hungry too, and I made myself a couple of plates and watched other people making their plates. And funny enough, now the environment, as I think of it now, is kind of similar to the dream I had last night about being in that presidential room with the pageantry, like there was a fakeness about it, and definite presence of extreme wealth, an awareness of the presence of extreme wealth. So I was that. I was the boy, the Jewish boy in this case, which is not a comment on the Jewish people in any way. It's just the circumstances of the dream. And I'll try to articulate a little more when I finish telling you about the dream. So I was hungry too. I made myself a couple of plates, and I walked around looking at the other people making plates. And then when I sat down more at the outskirts of this like large sprawling property around nearby, sorry, stop it. My phone is acting weird. And when I sat down at the outskirts of the property, when I looked out around me, I could see the city streets, and it seemed like there were, I don't know if it's specifically Palestinian men, but men of Middle Eastern descent, Arab men walking around nearby. And then they were also on a side street that looked more pedestrian and rough. And as I looked at it from a distance, I think I was sitting on a bench. And the men were not, they didn't look rich, but they didn't look poor as rags, but they did maybe look not particularly wealthy. And they seemed polite at first, and I felt empathy, sympathy for them. So I gave them my 2 full plates of food, and I said that I hoped that they were going to share with the other men near the bench where I was sitting, but they said that they were taking all of the food back to their families. And then they kind of ran off with the food. They just took off, which surprised me. And I felt a little tricked, but then I also felt like they probably really needed it. And then I also thought that all the people out on the street that I could see beyond this like estate that I was on probably needed food. But what can we do about it? And then someone at the party saw me give away my food, and they made a big fuss about it, and they were mad at me, and it was almost like I was in trouble because of it, which made me feel confused. And it was, I definitely had the feeling of being somewhere very, very unlike where I live in the northeastern U.S. Like even the heat of the day and the sun was different and maybe more intense, hotter, and the colors like a lot of tans and browns in the street and in the buildings and in the clothing. So like I definitely felt like I was far, far away. And my mom wrote back, sounds out of body to me, but reality as well. Like, you know, an accurate sort of maybe picture of reality right now. She wrote, that actually sounds like how most of us feel. So it all probably infiltrated your dream state, but you were still you. You may have zeroed into someone else's experience. I know many Israelis are against everything that's happening there right now. And then I wrote back, yeah, I kind of was me and not me at the same time. The thing that I noticed so prevalently was how uneven the wealth distribution there was. Yeah, and to sort of not step too deep into this end of things, I don't think that a person like me who doesn't feel the weight of the history of that area like Israel and Palestine and the Gaza Strip and the endless the decades of conflict that have gone on there. Now it's getting close to maybe 100 years since Israel was established as a country after World War II. It's hard. I try not to what's the word I'm looking for? I try not to take sides, but it does seem to me now that it feels to me now like Israel has entered into a different kind of phase, a different kind of war that is more of a genocide now than just a retaliation for that terrible attack by Hamas. However long ago it's been now. Has it been? My notion of time is so strange now. Has it been a year or has it been 2 years? It's just like the Ukraine war. When it started on my birthday 3.5 years ago. And I remember thinking, this doesn't feel like it belongs in this time. Like, I meant that it was like a throwback of barbarism that seemed to be of the past, trying to sneak its way into the now. A regression imposed on time, on the timeline, on our reality. And there's too much else to say, except that I have written a lot about this in the 2 books that I've written. I didn't intend to launch into a sales pitch here, but I do ponder the notion of time and cycles in my second book, Life is Magic, especially, like where a seeming combination of astrological, cyclistic events creeps around in the history here every 2,000 years or so, and there just seems to be these massive upheavals and endings as one cycle of time moves into the next cycle of time, whether that's what some astrologers call passing from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. It's a period of high disruption and great change. Not to mention the fact that you're piling on all this very fast social, cultural, political change driven by technology. So, if you want to go down those rabbit holes, I would recommend my books. That's where I go. I tell you what I think might be going on in some instances. I give you my point of view from a spiritual, trying to see it from a spiritual perspective, a larger perspective. And then I also, there are certain things that I just sort of present, what I'm perceiving, and I don't necessarily have the answers about aspects of the whys of why things are going on, but I look to the reader to kind of ponder with me, or even respond if you feel like it. I mean, I'm always happy to get emails about these concepts, because I find a lot of it very fascinating. Now I feel like I'm wandering and rambling. So I will conclude with one more dream from several weeks ago that I wanted to come on and talk about, and then I just couldn't get to it because fall is a busy time for me. And I'm happy to say that one of the reasons I've been busy too, not the only reason, is I'm hard at work on another record. I haven't released a full-length recording since 2020, the end of 2020, and I have about 20 songs in many stages of completion at this point, and I really want to knock this next record. I still call them record, 4 CDs. out within a year. So I'm trying to pick up the pace a little bit. I'm rejiggering some pieces of my life to try to give myself more time for that. And anyway, yeah. So that's what I've been doing, among other things. I can't say I'm really ever really very bored. Very rarely am I bored, for which I'm grateful. But this other dream a couple weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, or however long, it was in a futuristic Earth where we had flying like drone cars, and the dream was both comedic and scary and adventurous and funny because it, like a lot of my dreams, it mixed the very strange and the very mundane together, in a trippy way. It started because I was, I think, at the airport in Buffalo trying to get a ride home, but a flying car ride home or cab, and now that it's been a few weeks, I have to dig a little harder into the memory of the texture of the dream, but it did feel futuristic. And even at the airport, it felt like I was at a futuristic airport, and a man, a large, a heavy black man, flew his drone cab up to the terminal and offered me a ride. And the first thing that I noticed about his drone cab, I guess I'll just call it a drone cab, but it didn't have any propellers on it. Like, this was so advanced that it just rised and floated and flew, flying cars. Was that it? It looked like a couch. It looked kind of like a couch bench, like I'm trying to draw it. I'm drawing it from the side. Like, it kind of like it had this kind of a shape. Like, it was a shallow bench, and that's all it was. Just a bench. It was a flying bench. Okay, might have even been gray, soft, like a soft fabric. And so when we flew, I didn't know if there was even like a windshield, like, per se. I don't think there was, but I also don't know if there was a force field. So yes, this is a bizarre dream, but it seemed perfectly plausible. And there will be flying. They're basically here already, flying drone cars. But imagine this. This is the catch. I got on the guy's drone couch cab, and when we got into the sky, it felt like the early days of like drone travel, because everybody was flying around the sky, say at like 500 feet, 1,000 feet below the clouds. Everybody was flying around in all directions. So as we were up on the sky couch, people were zipping by us, below us, above us, like a Star Wars movie, like a bunch of it was chaos. So it struck me that I was in a period of time where they hadn't yet like worked out the laws of like how commercial, drone cars would have to fly in the sky, because that's what I mean about mixing the sort of magical and the mundane, like, because that's maybe the way my brain works too, like, because that's what's going to happen when there are drone cars here. At first, that might be the best time to take a drone car ride, because it'll be Wild West in the sky for a while. You're going to see people. I mean, it's going to be horrifying too, because the sky's going to be full and noisy. Just thought of that, like, maybe all the time. But at first, people are going to have this sense of exhilaration and freedom because there aren't going to be any rules. And some people, for that very reason, are also probably going to get themselves killed, which is not funny, but it is. It's dark humor because they're going to be jackasses about it. Like, oh, look at me, flying around on a drone pack, or, well, we look at me, and then the next thing falling off a mountain. Because that is people. That is human beings. We are as adventurous as we are stupid sometimes. So yeah, like I think the early air commerce is like below cloud air commerce is going to be a free for all. And so I did take the ride with this man who met me at the airport, but it was chaos, and I kept thinking someone is going to collide with us. Like, this is too crazy up here. But it was like kind of too late. And one of the funny aspects of the dream, in addition to just the whole premise, was that because this man was somewhat heavy, he significantly heavier than me, the flying couch, like we were kind of flying like not level. It was like a little crooked, because his weight was on one side and mine was on the other, which is funny and silly. And then somebody did smack right into us, or we smacked into them, or who knows. And I had this moment in the dream where I was like, oh wow, this is it. This is how I go. And there was kind of for a split second, not in a frightening way, there was really nothing to see. Not to say that it was black, but it was like we were somewhere else. And then basically like a kind of like light kind of like cracked open above us. And I couldn't see the man, but the man who had been with me, giving me a ride on the flying couch, but I knew he was there. And we both had the idea that we were gonna maybe cross, and I think he asked if he could hold my hand, and I said, sure, of course. And so we were holding hands, and ow, my forearm, and there was some comfort in that. And I thought, like, okay, it's gonna be okay. But then the reset button got hit, and I was back at the airport. And I don't know where the man was. So I don't know what that means. But I didn't die in this flying couch drone car accident. And in fact, it was like the clock got rewound and I was back at the airport again. And I still needed a ride. So maybe I should have thought about some other way to get home, but I didn't. And I took a ride from a different woman who had a different kind of vehicle. Hers was more like, she was a younger woman. Hers was more like it looked like the front of an airplane. Like, you know how the pilot sits in the front? More like a fighter jet. Hers looked like a fighter jet. How the pilot sits in the front seat, and then you sit behind the pilot. She may have even had a helmet. But that was the entirety of the vehicle. There were no wings. That was the catch. It was basically like the nose of a fighter jet, a flying nose of a fighter jet. And so then she was going to take me home, and we got up there, and it was no less crazy than before. But this time, and maybe even when I took the ride with the first man, when I looked up and down, not only did I see other flying vehicles, but I saw spaceships. I saw alien spaceships. And I was like, oh wow, like that's what's going on now. Even to where I think I saw like an alien spaceship above me, kind of like do a kind of Star Trek thing, like warp, like from one spot above us in the sky to a much higher spot in the sky instantly. Like it just went, like it just like teleported almost. So I was like, oh, so we're in that age now of like we're like aliens are cohabitating with us. I'm like, all right, that's interesting. And this is where I think my subconscious likes to joke around with me because I'm not scared in this dream. It's obviously farcical. I might even be aware it's a dream in the dream, and now I've got this female air driver's trying to take me home, and it's just as bad as before. And there's stuff all around us, and what happens is I'm just gonna say it because this is what was in the dream. But it's going to sound ridiculous. We were sort of accosted by an alien ship, um, almost like a cheesy sci-fi horror movie where they had almost like octopus-like tentacles. Yep, for real. And the aliens kind of pull up alongside of us in their little ship, and they ripped her head off. I know that's awful, but in the dream it was like cartoonish almost. And I guess they were out to screw me over because they ripped her head off and then they like took off, like. And I was like aware that they were thinking, oh, ha ha ha, like now you're gonna go down, like me, you're gonna go down with with the air cab, with the drone cab, and there's nothing you can do about it because your pilot's been decapitated. And I could see myself from a distance, like I could see myself from their point of view with them flying away from us and me going down with the ship behind them. And I think that's where the dream ended. Now, do I actually fear being attacked by aliens? Not really. Do I think there are aliens on Earth? Yes, I do. Yes. And funny enough, in telling you about that dream, I just remembered another dream I had within the last week, which I'm going to keep very brief or try. I can talk though once I'm warmed up, I'm good to go. Whether it's interesting or not, who knows? So I had this dream that I was walking down the main street of the suburb I grew up in Buffalo, in the suburbs, a quiet suburb in the city, outside the city. And it was nighttime, and I was on my way to like the plaza in the middle of the town, and it turned out actually that there was some kind of party going on, and I think the party was taking place like at a gas station that was closed for the night. It was so strange. A lot of partying in my dreams lately, with with unusual characters floating about. So I don't know if I'm going to space parties or what's going on in my sleep, astral traveling. Don't know. But before I got to the party, I I don't know why, but I saw a big empty box at the side of the street, like like a refrigerator sized box. You know how in the old days, when you got a new fridge, like maybe, I don't know, you had to get rid of the box. Like they didn't take it away with them. Remember how people used to just put huge empty boxes at the sidewalk? Now not so much anymore. And the top was open, so for some arbitrary reason, I got inside of it, and I sort of laid. It was big enough to like sort of lie down in the box for a minute, and I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I was in my suburban hometown. I don't know why I was walking down the street by myself alone at night. Not that it would have been dangerous. It was, deadly quiet because the suburbs are sleepy like that. And again, when I was looking in the sky at the stars, I started seeing alien spaceships. And what was really strange about them, that I remembered having had the same experience in other dreams, was that in one way, they almost seemed like projections, like they almost seemed transparent, or almost like they were projected on the sky. And they also were amorphous, which what I mean by that is they seemed to change shape even as they moved. There was one ship that was with another ship where they seemed to like almost like bend and fold around themselves as they moved. And they almost seemed to bend and fold around each other, traveling in a strange way together. I don't know what that's about, but it was weird. And yet there was no fear aspect there. And then, so I looked at those two ships first, and then off to my right, I saw what looked kind of more like almost like a cone ship. Kind of like came out of a cloud and like from you being me point of view, kind of came out of a cloud and like was turning towards me like this. And as I was looking at it, I realized it was looking at me. And I had the sense that there was a conscious gaze there where I was like, oh, they're thinking of coming to get me, or they're asking if I want to go up there. And I just knew, almost like telepathically. And I just basically said, no, no. I closed my eyes. I was like, And when I opened my eyes, it was gone. And then there were no more spaceships in the sky. And then I got out of the box. And then I went to the weird after-hours party at the gas station. It may have been a gas station, like, / burger joint. Like, but it was closed. But people had taken it over to have their own party. So I don't know why that party theme keeps coming up, because I haven't really been to a party in a while, or certainly not a wild party. Really any like party. Like I haven't been to like a wild party or a party of really any kind really recently. And these are strange parties, these ones. So, because it was in that dream, and then it was also in the dream that I had last night, where, everybody took over the room at the White House after Jerkface had left. Jerkface and his minions had left. What that is suggesting, I'm not really sure, except maybe have a good time where you can have it. Make your own fun where you can have it. I mean, don't break into a gas station or like a burger joint at night just to have a party. There must be some other better way to do that. But they were certainly, the parties were colorful, entertaining. The people were colorful, entertaining, and strange. And I felt like an observer more than a participant. Yeah. So that's where I'm going to stop at long last, at almost 50 minutes. Holy smokes. 49:49 was the time on the screen. So if you made it this far, God bless you. You must, you deserve a gold star. And I hope that you are well. I hope you are taking good care of you. I hope you're finding ways to still enjoy life, regardless of what your circumstances are. You know, we gotta find our joy where we can, and hope that the future is brighter. Whew. So okay, that's all I got. Your comments, as always, are most welcome. If you would like to learn more about me, my website is robfalgiano.com. The homepage is a little screwed up right now. It looks okay on a computer. I got to fix how it looks for if you're looking on a phone. But I will have that fixed soon, and there are links to my books there. If you want to go on if you want to read a book as weird as this video, then you could then I strongly suggest either of my two books. I hope someday to maybe write a third, but I'm gonna need a little more spare time for that. That might be post day job. We'll see. We'll see. Life is unpredictable. But I do hope to write a third book to wrap up some of the ideas from the second book. But then I'm just thought that I guess it never ends. There's always new ideas. Maybe an artist's work is never complete. I didn't mean to go down that road. But I know that historically there are writers who just hoped they could stay alive long enough to finish writing something or finish producing something that was important to them. When you have that creative urge, it is so strong. It can really be irrational, the degree to which making the art is of importance. But art is important. And I'm not going to go down a why art is important road right now. Anybody who loves art knows why it's important. So, okay, I'm going to stop. Thanks for watching this. Comments, please. Feedback, welcome. If you got any weird dreams, let me know. Yeah, I'm not going to go with aliens. I don't think, I'm not going to do that. Okay, take care. Be well. Stay well. Best to you and yours.